Disney is dissolving its diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Or more correctly, it is being forced to dissolve its day initiatives, not because Disney one day suddenly realized that, hold on a second, advantaging certain people, hiring and, advancing them in the company purely based upon the color of their skin is incredibly racist. Of course not, heaven forbid. That would be far too much sense. Rather, the governing board of the Reedy Creek Development District, which was appointed by Governor Ron DeSantis, has decided this for them because, well, it is incredibly racist and probably, frankly, very, very illegal as well. And Disney has been doing this for quite some time now, and we'll be getting to that in a little bit, but you might be wondering, just to put the board straight here, why and how is this happening? Surely Disney is a private company, right? It can do whatever it wants? Well, yes, sort of, but the rub of the matter here is Disney's personal little fiefdom within Florida, the Reedy Creek Development District. Now, normally, corporate and industrial development districts like this tend to be little areas sectioned off for industrial growth, or companies, or whatever, where the the government says, hey, companies, come over here, we can section you off, away from the civil populace in specialized areas, and in turn, we'll give you some special benefits to make sure that you succeed. And in return, you can provide us with tax money and, of course, labor, employment, etc. All of these good things. A win-win situation. But in the case of Disney, well, the only company in the Reedy Creek Development District, of any note anyways, is Disney. And in turn, Disney managed to essentially buy out and eventually straight up hire and appoint all of the people actually intended to oversee that district. The people who are supposed to be giving Disney all of their special privileges and who are, crucially, supposed to be putting up certain stoppers going like, no, you can't do this, that would be crazy. Well, there was nothing of that. This was also why the preceding board, the one before Governor Ron DeSantis' appointment, attempted to give Disney, and I think this is still an ongoing legal battle, rights to do anything they wanted within this district for perpetuity, essentially. Or what was it? Until the last living heir of the King of England, or something insane like that. All of the previous board was simply just Disney puppets and did whatever Disney told them to do. But the new board, of course, is not going to be quite so pliant, shall we say. And this is a rather big deal because, well, a lot of Disney's current day identity was based on their diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Bounding Into Comics, an excellent site that I heavily do recommend every time I mention it, did an article on this, which was an expose made by a fellow YouTuber, where a Disney whistleblower claims companies systematically persecuted conservatives, also compensated employees based on how woke they virtue signaled, including getting people to essentially write their own little diaries on what good little boys and girls they were, and how very progressive they were as well. This was a program instituted by the now ex-head of the Diversity and Inclusion Department, which is this rather stern-looking lady here, who was the little diversity officer. If your politics did not align with those of the company, or more correctly, herself, well, you can forget about getting any sort of promotions within the company, if you weren't simply just, driven out straight away. If you had the correct politics, however, you were welcomed in with open arms, rapidly promoted, and, well, you got the job in the first place. Furthermore, there is also an allegation made here in this article that bonuses and compensation was tied to how woke somebody was as well, and how loudly they virtue signaled. I'm hardly surprised, honestly. If anything, I'd say that I'm almost surprised they didn't go yet further. I half expect to see, bullying stories where conservatives were sent little, hanging Mickey Mouses or something. It's like, ha ha ha, get out. I wish I could do V's Mickey Mouse voice. That'd be fantastic right about now. The new governing board stated that the so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives were advanced during the tenure of the previous board, and they were illegal and simply un-American. Yeah, no, pretty much sounds like it. District Administrator Glenton Gilson said on a statement, "Our district will no longer participate in any attempt to divide us by race or advance the notion that we are not created equals. As the former head of the Central Florida Urban League, a civil rights organization, I can say definitively that our community thrives only when we work together despite our differences." What a very quaint 18th century notion, that the races are equal, and that we should hire based on merit, says the mouse. This is the beautiful state of modern-day progressivism. They've literally become everything they have over the years attempted to vilify again and again and again, but what else is new, I do suppose. As for what effect this will actually have, well, that is harder to predict. First and foremost, I expect that Disney will simply just go, no, shake their heads and say, we'll see you in court. As currently, I believe there's, what? There's 2 or is there 3 currently ongoing legal disputes between Governor Ron DeSantis' government and Disney. Amongst other things, Disney is accusing the governor of of persecuting them unfairly in a political power play, which kind of is. Unironically, whenever Governor DeSantis decides to dick on Disney, he goes up in the polls. As Disney has managed to make itself such an unbelievably unpopular company that screwing them over is received with plaudits and cheers by the general populace. God damn it. If only somebody could shove a turbines pin up Walt Disney's ass, we could solve all of our currently ongoing energy issues with simply the rotational energy of him in his grave. They're probably going to challenge this, but it does also mean that the allegations here are a little bit more wide-reaching. As the statement said, these were illegal practices. Now, considering the current situation and the fact that DeSantis is already engaged in quite a few lawsuits against Disney, I would be surprised if he elected to push this particular line of attack any further. He's probably simply using it because, well, it is a correct descriptor, and because it sounds pretty damn good to accuse Disney of a crime which they absolutely unironically committed. In fact, they appear to have documented themselves committing it repeatedly. But you could also launch yet another attack on Disney here by going, well, you know, we've got access to your files now, and there are several weird discrepancies here. You seem to have been hiring and, you know, promoting people based primarily on their melanin content, or more correctly, their lack of melanin, if anything. You also seem to have actively persecuted certain political groups. I do, in fact, believe that this is what we call a crime. It would certainly be funny, but I do suspect there are enough legal battles ongoing between the two at the moment to the point where that's not really going to be a high priority. This does, though, mean that the new board is showing its teeth already, and is forcing Disney to, well, they've probably already started dissolving this because they fired their head of diversity, equity, and inclusion, or she left or whatever, and they haven't seemed to make any immediate move to replace her, at least that I've seen at the moment, making it seem as if maybe they suspected this was coming, or if this was already actually something that they had talked about and Disney had already elected to swallow the bitter pill. They also mentioned, of course, that this will save the development district and Disney millions of dollars, and as we know, Disney CEO Bob Iger is currently desperately trying to cut costs as the company simply isn't earning money anymore. Its only real income is coming from the parks, and the only reason the parks are still popular is because of their legacy creations. They're not making anything new anymore. What, like, is anybody going to go to Disneyland because of the Little Black Mermaid? Very much so doubt it. If anything, Star Wars is the only acquisition they have that was, you know, sort of pseudo kind of recent that is driving park revenue, and even that they've done everything in their power to absolutely sink. Not to mention, of course, the fact that the Galactic Star Cruiser, the overpriced hotel, went down in, what was it, a year or something? God only knows how many millions of dollars that lost Disney, to the point that now they're talking about selling off their television channels. I imagine that this might actually have been something that the company and the board discussed that would end up as a bit of a win-win for both. An obvious publicity win for DeSantis and a monetary win for a company that simply can't afford to be thoroughly racist anymore. Or, excuse me, progressives, of course. It might also signal, if we're going to be very optimistic here, a degree of willingness on behalf of Disney to come to the table and maybe put away their Ku Klux Klan hoods. Who knows? It's a possibility. A small one, mind you, but it exists, sort of, kinda, on the periphery of existence anyways. More than likely, this will simply be the first of many reforms forced upon Disney, as DeSantis will continue to use them as a punching bag, and deservedly so. To the point, hopefully, that Disney will simply cease to be an entertainment company, and will simply be a group of theme parks. I mean, ideally, that would be the best thing. They can continue to live off our shared nostalgia for another 20 to 30 years, whilst stopping polluting our current day entertainment. Wouldn't that be lovely? That is what I call a win-win situation. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.